Good evening. I'd like to call this Wednesday, December 14th, 2022 meeting of the City of Manassas Park Planning Commission to order. The time is 7:17. My name is Lester Finkel. Sitting this evening are John Evans, Alana Mensing, Michael Beckett's, and Martha Collier. The initial agenda item is the moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Mensing, will you lead us in that?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next agenda item is approval of the agenda. Are there any revisions to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, would anyone care to make a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next agenda item is adoption of minutes, and we have two sets of minutes to adopt. We have the September 14th, 2022 minutes. Are there any revisions to that set of minutes? I offered one to already, so would anyone care to make a motion to adopt those minutes?
moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries 4 to 1 abstention. Next set of meeting minutes is October 12th, 2022. Are there any revisions to that set of minutes? I've just offered one earlier there. Would anyone can make the motion to adopt the October 12th, 2022 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention. Are there any members of the public to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move along. Our first new business item tonight is election of officers for 2023. Are there any nominations for chairperson?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Finkel.
Thank you, I accept. And for vice chairperson, I'd like to nominate Mr. Evans. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next agenda item is a public hearing. It's a waiver, WAI number 22-05, 100 Laura Street, live work units. The time is 7:20. And are we ready for the applicant to make the presentation?
Sure.
Thank you. If you'd like to, there's a microphone. The microphone is over there, I believe.
That's right.
If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and then please, your presentation will be appreciated.
Yes, sir, I will do. First of all, commissioners, thank you for the time that you're affording us. Do you mind, I don't know if it's green? And I think I've got it now, maybe? Probably. Okay, now you can hear me. Commissioners, thank you for the time that you're affording us to entertain this waiver, and thanks in advance to Ms. Berry for her expertise and that we've been working with over the past year. My name is Don Stedham. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Axalu Properties, located here in Manassas. We are a small family office that participates in the real estate sector. Several holdings, in this area. We're big believers in this market. We've got retail centers, office buildings, industrial centers, multifamily units, all within just a mile or two of where we're standing today. So we're really supportive believe in the market and really believe in what the city's doing and the vision that they outline for the community in the years ahead. This particular waiver that we are requesting is for our existing multifamily building that we have just up the street here, and more specifically, the commercial components on the ground floor have not been accepted, by the market over the years. It's been, a decade of trying to lease these spaces, and it's just not. We've been unsuccessful, but it's largely just due to the location of the commercial and its relative nature to, the downtown area and to the building itself. Over the past, I'll say, 5 years, a new concept has kind of emerged in the market across the United States, and it's called a live-work unit. I'm not sure what everybody's familiarity with it is, but it was certainly more highlighted, I will offer, during the COVID pandemic as the commercial workforce began working from home more often. And so with that, a lot of employers and the employees recognized, hey, I can be efficient, work from home, and not take up, office space. And so an offshoot of that became for the smaller, I'll say, users of office space, gave birth to this live-work unit concept. So basically, it's my apartment that I can live, but I can still entertain a commercial component to it. And the defining elements that kind of differentiate it from any apartment unit is the fact that I have to be able to entertain clients from the outside. So I have an ADA accessible place with which you can park. I have an ADA accessible entrance into the unit itself. I have an ADA accessible commercial area that we've designated within the unit. I've got an ADA accessible path of travel to a restroom that my clients can use. And so the types of businesses and individuals that have gravitated towards this rather successfully up and down across the coast to coast, have been the professionals like in the wealth management industry. It could be, consultant, counseling type businesses. It can be insurance. Sales representative, anybody, or a music teacher. For instance, the one tenant that we do have, is very excited about this opportunity for him. But clients can come to them, they can entertain them, but the overhead and costs of trying to rent an office space and present that professional front to the client has been, minimized by the sharing of the live portion of the work unit. Throughout all of these designs, it's imperative that the live area within these units are segregated from the commercial area, and so you won't find a studio apartment, for instance, that qualifies for a live-work unit. The doors have got to be closed and/or a mezzanine constructed whereby the residential component is up and separated from the commercial component. So we think there's a market here, for that. Again, the pandemic has shed great light on this concept, and I think everybody has been trying to figure out where it fits, within the codes themselves. So we're excited about it. We think we'll be successful at it. We've had several. We only have 15 units here, and at the end of the day, we're talking about. I'll defer to Michelle on this, but I think it's about 7,400 square feet converting from, commercial to the live portion of these units. And so the percentages kind of get skewed a little bit when you're really talking about a small area. But we're excited about it. We think we'll be successful, and we'll draw more people to the downtown area. That's our goal for sure. So all the details I think Michelle has, but if there's anything that I can help or interject, I'll gladly do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions for the applicant at this time?
No.
Okay. No questions. Thank you. Commissioner Berry? Not Commissioner Berry, Administrator Berry, sorry.
As we said, this is a waiver application for 100 Laura Street live work units. The waiver is actually for an increase in the residential component of the gross floor area of this apartment building. under the MUD requirements, the zoning district, it's required to be at 75%. There is an availability of a waiver to increase that, so that is what this waiver is, to 93% of the gross floor area of the building. Next slide, please. Just to orient yourself, we're talking about the tall apartment building behind what is known as Park 170. It's in red, that is 100 Lara Street. It's our tallest building in the city. It's 7 stories, and the top 6 floors are residential units, and as described by the applicant, the ground level is commercial, which is mostly big.
Mind holding the mic closer?
Yeah.
So, okay, I have my little, it sounded too loud, so, is that better?
I'm checking with people who are watching.
Okay. Oh, wait,
That was
that's better? Okay, let me move it back up here. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Just project.
okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is the zoning map for the city. Just zoomed in is the property is highlighted in yellow there. It is zone MUD, downtown mixed-use district. You can see the surrounding properties are mostly MUD, but we do have public facilities to the south and I-1 as well, and then B2 to the north. That's the area bounded by Euclid Avenue and Manassas Drive. Next slide, please. So with our comprehensive plan, that's one of the evaluation criteria that we use. And here's a map to show that the site is within the city center redevelopment district. You can see some of the other land use designations surrounding that, but of course our downtown core is identified as the city center redevelopment district. Next slide, please. So the applicant kind of identified several of these details. However, this is a request for the waiver to increase it to 93%, as I mentioned before, and of course to convert the ground level commercial space to these 15 work units. Next slide, please. Just to give you a visual, you can see on the ground level, and I tried to take a shot from the side there because you can see that the commercial spaces wrap around on the side of the building and in front. Those are the suites that we're talking about. They do continue on the other side, but Google Maps wouldn't go that far. So, but that gives you a general idea of what the space we're talking about and the suites and their location. Next slide, please. Included in the packet, but here are the interior renderings of the several spaces, the different units. They do have the square footages provided. The blue area is the residential, and the yellow is the commercial. So on the left side, that is the ground floor, if you will, and as the mezzanines that were discussed by the applicant, you can see those on the right side, the blue area. So there will be stairs heading up to those blue areas, and that's a residential component where the bedroom is really going to be, because the kitchen and the bathroom is down on the first floor. Next slide, please. We'll just go through these quickly. Here, I just thought we should show you all the different units and the layouts. I believe there are 2 or 3 units that don't have mezzanines just by their configuration. Not on this slide, but again, here shows you the residential versus the commercial component, which is in yellow. Next slide, please. Okay, and here's the final set of units. You can see that there are 4 that do not have mezzanines, because you can see on the right everything's gray on those top 4 units. But they still have the commercial area as well as the residential component identified within the suites. I'm not going to go into the detail about the different percentages, but that's in your package. items, we look at to see if it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and whether or not it's consistent with the zoning ordinance itself and specifically the zoning district in which it falls under. Next slide, please. So just to highlight, the city center redevelopment does encourage an integrated mixture of uses, commercial office, civic buildings, and residential uses. And it also does discuss that the uses should follow location and layout criteria, ensuring that their best chance of being successful, and that the mixture reinforces the image of an urban downtown or modern town center. As the applicant stated, I think they have had difficulty leasing the space. The comprehensive plan does acknowledge that aspect to try to say that to look at location and layout criteria to assist in the activity within the downtown. And it is kind of, at this point, it is on the periphery of the developed downtown. So in a way, this does make it a good use for that space at this time, just because, as the applicant stated, it is kind of tucked away, and commercial at this point is not really too viable there in that location. So the comprehensive plan does identify that, and this live-work unit does really blend well and comply with the comprehensive plan language to support this type of unit. Next slide, please. Just real quickly, the live-work does conform to the zoning ordinance, just specifically with the MUD district. It does allow for a mix of uses. Now, live-work isn't specifically stated in there, but given it has residential and commercial components, it certainly, I've determined that it is a permitted use. And the other identifying issue under the zoning ordinance is parking. When we calculated using the new commercial and residential rates, there's actually a decrease of 3 required spaces. So the existing parking certainly accommodates this use without a problem. And just overall, I mean, the zoning ordinance here is to identify and provide a nice mix of uses and compatible uses, and having places to live, work, and shop. And so this use really does conform with the zoning ordinance along with the MUD district. Next slide, please. So certainly there is a enforcement component, or how this is really going to function as live-work. The applicant has stated that their lease will require an annual certification from the tenant that states that they will be using that commercial component. And if not, that will be in default to the lease. So from our perspective, we would be using those, getting those certifications and checking to see if they do have a business license for that property under that name. And if they don't, that certainly would be a zoning violation because they're not in compliance with the live-work and the percentage of residential versus commercial approved for this use. So that's the tool that we will be using to monitor compliance, along with the annual certification for the tenants. So just finishing up with the building. Given the nature of the use and the location, staff is recommending to the Planning Commission approval of this waiver. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here if anybody has additional questions or comments.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners for Administrator Barry?
Yes.
Commissioner Collier?
My first question, do you have any other properties that have been redeveloped, or whatever my term is, in the same situation in another area? Or is this your first?
This is our first conversion to.
Okay.
To come up
I'll
to the
get you.
microphone.
That's all right. Yeah, stand up with her. Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. This is our first conversion from commercial to the live-work units.
So you don't have any other properties that you've already attempted this same?
No, ma'am. This
Okay.
is it.
Do you know any other companies that have done it, and if so, have they been successful?
Yes, ma'am. There's quite, there's plenty of documentation out there on existing in downtown DC, in Arlington, in the city of Falls Church as well. These have been accepted, and a lot of the language that I used to talk to you earlier reflected those studies in which we've gone out and walked those sites and see how well they do. So they've been more reserved for a more urban environment, but we think it'll work here as well.
Since you haven't been able to rent these spaces, has anybody approached you with this idea? Any applicant approached you?
No specific applicant has come to us because they don't know about it yet. We've not been able to market it and wouldn't market it until the subjective approvals are, behind us. But we think that come Q2 of 2023, when we're under construction with these, should this move forward, that we'll be successful in that. For instance, the one tenant that we do have is a fabulous young man that is a music instructor, and he wants one of these units because he's not being financially successful where he's at in our current position.
I guess then my final question, if this is approved and you go ahead with it, and then you find that that's not successful, what will you revert to? What will you do then?
Well, we go into these elements, with great belief that we're going to be successful with it. It's not, it's a significant investment for us to renovate these into these units. Now, I will say, as time moves forward, 10 years, from now, or whatever the time may be, as Manassas Drive builds out and the commercial comes in, if a restaurant came to me today and said, "Hey, I'd love to have, 5,000 feet, under your building," by all means, we will, fit and it'll make sense for us to use commercial there rather than the live work. So it's not, something that is not adaptable, to us. It's an interior tenant, interior fit out for a live work unit, not unlike it would be an interior fit out for, some other use.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions from commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. And just for the record, Administrator Barry, I don't see anyone from the public present.
You're correct.
Okay, thank you. Then if there's nothing else from commissioners, and if the applicant and Mr. Barry are done, then I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Moved.
Motion, second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Would anyone care to begin discussion, or shall I offer a motion? And just for the record, I do find it consistent with the comprehensive plan. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to recommend approval to the governing body of waiver WAI number 22-05.
Moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. You're welcome. Moving along, we have no unfinished business to attend to. Report of special committees, none. And informational update from community development staff. Administrator Barry?
Thank you, Chairman Finkel. I just wanted to update the Planning Commission. We've actually been busy with site development permits. So besides the Park Central development that you see going along Manassas Drive, I just wanted to highlight some of the site plans that you looked at and approved are now in the development phase. So that goes for pet suites, which is on Manassas Drive. They're finally got their approval for their backyard fenced-in play areas, if you will. So they are starting construction on that, and we look forward to having that business enhance their repertoire for pets, and they're going to also put in that bioretention facility. Next, we have that contractor's yard that's off Owens Drive. It's 9101C Owens Drive. It is a vacant parcel, and that owner is developing the property into the contractor's yard, and that is also underway. Their site development permit was issued last month. We also have Virginia Contractor Supply, which they're joining, well, not technically joining, but through a roadway, they're joining two properties, one from Euclid and the other one on Owens, so they can have a travel way between the two. So then there's better circulation there because based on what the applicant has said, there's really a lot of traffic, truck traffic there, and they have a lot of trucks going in and out. So this is going to be a way for them to have a little more accessibility, and also they are building another storage structure there. And then finally, we have Tidal Wave, which is going to take over the Speedy Green that was not brought to the Planning Commission just because they were really minor improvements. But we do have a business that is going to do some exterior elements to the property and change some of the items, refresh the building a little bit, and the canopy for the vacuums, and hopefully make that business successful. In speaking with the contractor there, Tidal Wave apparently has several businesses and opening up nationwide, but more specifically in this area down the East Coast. So we're hoping that brings some a new business for that corner, and I'm really looking forward to seeing at least some changes to that property. So those are really the four plans that we're looking on that's actually coming to development now. We certainly are moving along with new projects within the city. So that's really all I have, and we're still working. The forthcoming will be, of course, our CIP, annual CIP, and we still are working on phase 4 of the downtown development. Still working with the applicant. It's not quite ready yet for Planning Commission, but we will be bringing that to you as quickly as we can.
Any questions for Administrator Berry? Commissioner Collier?
Just an information down the corner, the car wash at 28 and Manassas Drive. I see activity down there. Is there a new tenant coming in there, or?
That's exactly what I'm talking about, the Tidal
Oh,
Wave.
that was what it was called.
Yes,
Okay, I'm
I should
sorry.
have identified the exact
Okay.
address. Yeah, the old Speedy Green, I think it's 8411 Manassas Drive. Yes, that's the exact.
Yeah, I didn't recognize that. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, thank you.
Yes, sorry about that.
And I just wanted to let the planning commission know the phase 4 development, the same company here is critical. We're hoping that comes to you all very soon because that's the last piece of the downtown. All the parking arrangements we have here are dependent on that as well. So the theater can't move forward. Nothing can move forward until that gets through as well. So we're eagerly pushing that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.